Frank's Red Hot is the perfect blend of flavor and heat, so you can use an entire bottle to make recipes like buffalo chicken dip or buffalo nachos, or even things that don't start with buffalo. Frank's Red Hot, I put that on everything.
Hey, Craig.
They sucked at shooting the fourth quarter hole, but it's the same. Another bank job. It eats at your soul.
God damn it. What a shit weekend of basketball, dude.
What is it with these fucking banked shots in critical situations?
For our teams play great defense in a critical situation, and then the other team banks in a three, and it's like I'm watching that game, and I'm just thinking like the funniest part about it. I mean, I don't know, it wasn't funny, but like the thing about it that was just so like just maybe like roll my eyes. Like the analyst went on and on about what a big time shot, and I'm just like
she overshot it by an entire foot at least. If she was anywhere else on the court, it would have been an air ball.
She was not trying to bank it in. Like if this was 2 feet the other direction, that ball bangs off the side of the backboard and doesn't ever touch the rim. Like whatever, man. Whatever. Terrible weekend. But by the way, people may not know we're talking about the end of the women's game against UCLA, which man. 0-4, dude.
Yeah, 4 games in Los Angeles, 4 losses. This is podcast versus everyone. Still recovering from 4 consecutive days of watching WSU hoops teams lose in varied fashions. For the women, pretty much the same way twice.
Yeah, I mean, we got used to that for a lot of years, and then we thought this year's a little different, right? And maybe not.
But let's start. We'll talk about the men. Let's get that one out of the way first. Man, I wish that UCLA could have missed a fucking shot in the first half. That would have been nice. But
yeah, that would have been cool.
Yeah,
not playing Portland State
especially
anymore.
when they couldn't hit a shot against UW the next game they played. But
I know. Yeah, I kind of was like,
I don't think UW's defense is that good.
No,
suddenly they're gonna miss every shot.
No,
they were making every single one.
I also think there's a case to be made that our defense is not very good right now. But
which is a super bummer. Super buzzkill there.
But at the same time, it's also sort of like your defense can be bad and you're unlucky simultaneously. Like those don't have to be independent of each other.
You can leave guys open who normally shoot 40 to 45% on 2-pointers and expect them to shoot 40 to 45% on 2-pointers, and they make 80% of them. That's
right.
Just not fair. Like, and then Tiger, what's his last name? Campbell making every floater, every single scraping floater. I mean, I guess that's probably how people are feeling about Bonton the last few games.
I guess. You were like, he normally hits 50% of his jumpers, and I'm like, great, he's 7 of 8 right now.
Yeah, right.
And he's throwing these balls 15 feet in the air to get him over the outstretched arms of our 7-footers, and it's like swish. It's like, I mean, he was like seriously channeling some Steph Curry. I mean, seriously, how many times do you see a guy score 16 points on 8 2-pointers?
Yeah.
Actually, it wasn't 8 2-pointers. He had a couple.
He hit a couple threes in the second half, which that's the more frustrating thing. Like, oh no, you're hitting threes now too.
Yeah. So he was 5 of 6 on 2s and 2 of 2 on 3s and no free throws. Like he didn't even try to get he didn't try to get to the rim. Like that wasn't.
Which that's usually his MO. He's not really a to the rim guy. He's more of a to the middle
short
of the
guy,
lane.
Crafty dude. Like that's cool, but it's like, man, it's like, damn it, And then the one dude, Kyman, who had been in a shooting funk. Been in a shooting funk. Of course, he. I don't know what he finished, but he was 2 for his first 2, and then he
was like
one.
3 of 6, I think. But
yeah, but he hit his first 2 threes and.
Well, yeah, that's
Juzang hit one from mid court, basically. Like you're
Yeah.
just like, whatever, man. Like,
and then got they got a 3-point play foul at the end of the half.
yeah, that wasn't was not a foul, and whatever.
I mean,
Like,
the Cougs definitely got reffed a little bit in both games.
Yeah.
Down there, you kind of forget that that's usually what happens, but on the road and in LA in particular,
it didn't make any real difference in the outcome of
it's
either
still
game.
frustrating.
It's still irritating.
Just from a psychological standpoint, for some reason, like 13 at half, you're like, okay, we kept it at 13, and then they get those 3 points, and it's like it's 16 now. So all that work. And the frustrating thing was in both games, they had stretches. Well, USC, particularly the second half, but UCLA, they had stretches of really good offense, like better than they've had for most of the season.
Yep.
And then USC was their best offensive game of the year.
Yeah, against the best defensive team they've played.
Yeah, the best defense they've played. In particular, in terms of strengths, they really attacked the inside and got. The names now. I cram for an exam and then I just forget everyone afterwards.
Are you talking about USC?
Yeah,
Mobley, Mobley.
Evan Mobley. They got him in foul trouble. Deshaun Jackson was working. I guess whatever. The UCLA game. We're done talking about that. It was a piece of shit.
I mean, it was just a shit show. Like UCLA just ran over that. By the way, and I think this bears saying, and maybe this is like kind of both teams, but I think especially UCLA. I think UCLA is really fucking good. Like,
well,
we can probably say about
with...
USC too, but UCLA I think has the ingredients to maybe be actually kind of special.
Well, they have all those wings, and so that was the thing. I guess I said we're not going to talk about it. We're talking about it. So they have all those wings. They have all these 6'6" wings, and they all can score. And what we hit was a buzzsaw where all of them were scoring on the same day.
Yep.
Like and then Tiger Campbell was going nuts too.
Yep.
And so Jordan Riley really didn't have to do much of anything, and he's the one that killed us last year at the end of the game.
Yeah.
So they have all these wings. They beat Arizona, so maybe they can handle the size really well. The crazy thing is their best player is hurt.
Right.
And he's not coming back.
No.
And if they had him.
Yeah, it's bizarre.
They'd be like a potential top 15, top 10 quality team if they had him.
Yeah.
They're still a potential top 20 type team.
I think they have the potential to be better than that. I mean, they, when they play defense, they're a little scary, and think
they have a defensive coach.
Yeah, and they have a defensive oriented coach, and I think there's something to be said for, I think their defense is improving. I mean, you look at they held Colorado, Arizona State under 1.0 point per possession, Marquette under 1.0 point per possession. I mean, those are decent teams. I don't know them well enough to know if they're sort of offense forward teams, but. Arizona kind of shredded them pretty good. Washington kind of got after them pretty good. So maybe there's a consistency issue there, but they've got the talent to do. I mean, they are long. I mean, they made life really, really difficult for our offense. I mean, on both ends, that was a complete ass performance. It was a total beatdown.
Inherited some pretty bad defense. Alford's last year, they were 137th and adjusted defensive efficiency. They ticked it up to 112 last year. Obviously not like the improvement that WSU saw with Smith, but still they have much better offense. And then this year they've ticked it up to 91. And like you said, they might be coming around more to the defensive side. They're not big, but they do have a lot of athletic wings But they rotate their two bigs in Riley and Hill, so yeah, they have a potential to be solid, like good enough because their offense is just so deep. Like they're so deep on offense, and that's what really gave us trouble. Like there's just too many guys, and Noah, I think he looked better against USC. I think he was still recovering a bit
way better
on Thursday.
Against USC.
Yeah.
He was not well. against UCLA, and that was pretty obvious. Like good on him for being a gamer and going for it. That's great. Wonderful job and all that stuff. But it was gutsy, but not not real effective, right? And I think that it's easy for I think it's been a little too easy for our fans to just be like, our freshmen are awesome, and we're on this, and there was all the tournament talk. I mean, we indulged in some of that, right? Like, hey, here's what would need to happen in order for the tournament to happen. And I think what we're seeing now is what you and I have known all along, which is that freshmen. I mean, as excited as we are for these guys, it is really, really hard. It's a really small number of freshmen that are truly, truly able to be seamless impact players in their freshman year.
Guys like Evan Mobley, who were 5-star recruits who are going to the NBA next year.
You're really talking like the top 10-ish, maybe, guys in a class. Maybe even less than that, honestly, of guys that are truly impact, no transition needed, they are just ready to step in and be awesome. Learning curve, there's no learning curve, whatever. It's a group of somewhere between 8 and 15 guys in really any given year. And these guys, as great as they look like they will be, and the potential and everything else, it just kind of feels like these 3 games, Stanford, UCLA, USC, it felt like they got an introduction to big boy college basketball, where it's like, I mean, it's funny. It's like we look at FA and we look at Deshaun Jackson and they're big dudes and they're athletic and, and Vova's a big guy and all that stuff. And then you see a guy like Cody Riley, right? And you just look at him, and our guys aren't there yet. Right. And for 3 games now, we've been watching. Now, FA had a better game against USC. Deshaun Jackson had a real nice game against USC. But you just saw, against Stanford and UCLA, both Jackson and FA were really ineffective. I think that, what did Jackson have? He had 0 points, I think, against Stanford, if I remember right. He got shut out.
Well, UCLA, particularly against FA, doubled really well.
Yeah, they just doubled him like crazy. Use those really long wings to get after guys on the perimeter. And it was just, they made, they made Bonton work really hard, made everybody else work really, really hard. And, guys, I think just weren't quite ready for the intensity. I think Bonton was ready. He knew what was coming, having played against him a couple times last year. But I think the rest of the roster wasn't quite ready, and I think they kind of got punched in the mouth a little bit, and I think that's where the USC game was nice. They really played really, really well offensively, probably about as well, honestly, in that second half as they can play. They fought super hard and really battled back. They got to within 4 a couple times late. They just couldn't. They really couldn't stop USC, but I think what you're seeing is, they're growing game by game, and, sometimes you gotta get smacked around a little bit, and then, you figure some things out. And, I think that their learning curve and adjustment when they do have these rough games, honestly, they, when if we're talking about Jackson and FA, I think they both played better against USC than I expected. I don't know about you, especially Jackson. I think we basically figured, geez, of all of these 3 matchups, USC was probably the one most likely to completely neutralize our front line, and it didn't happen. So that was, that was encouraging to see. And even if they didn't win any games, I don't think the weekend was a total loss. And I think fans should probably keep in mind that these are 3 teams that are almost certainly going to all be in the NCAA tournament, presuming there is one.
Yeah.
And they're really good. And I think both UCLA and USC have the potential to be special good. I tend to lean in a little harder on UCLA because I have a lot more faith in Cronin to have a really good team. Still don't know what Enfield's doing. I mean, I'm like, dude, you got those guys. Why are you zoning? I mean, I know that there was sort of a reason why. They had a weak link on defense that we were sort of.
Can we talk about
we
that?
Totally
for a
can.
sec?
But it's like if you're Andy Enfield, like, why are you? And you got the why the zone? And their zone wasn't good either. So it's just sort of like, I don't know. Like I said, I said this last week on the show. I don't have a lot of faith and I don't have a lot of belief in Andy Enfield as a coach, but they're very talented, so they're definitely like a second weekend team. UCLA, I think, honestly, I don't feel weird saying I think they've got the potential to make a Final Four type run. I really think that they have the potential to be that good.
Yeah.
Go ahead and talk about USC and Noah Williams.
So it was funny. The whole reason they went zone is because Noah was just destroying this Drew Peterson kid, like just obliterating him, like getting to the cup. Like I think it was a couple possessions in a row. He just took him to the cup and scored with ease, and was just talking shit up and down the floor. You saw Peterson get a little. He's a talented offensive player, so he hit a couple shots, but he also forced a couple that he missed, and he's definitely getting in his head. But then, of course, the refs are always watching Noah. He gets that tech. So there's 2 points. In a game that, like you said, they got to 4, and then they had another that call on Tony Miller, that flagrant foul.
Oh, my gosh.
It was bad enough that they called a foul on it. Like, okay, fine, you called a foul. It was one of those.
But there wasn't even a foul.
You say it all the time. It was an assumed foul.
Yeah.
But the guy just missed the dunk, and they gave him a break. And so when you see it, Tony at most his hands grazed the guy's back, like would give him the chills or something. I don't know. So
I wasn't listening to the broadcast. Like, did they ever say? And I realize some of this isn't even like they don't even hear these things now because they're so, like, the announcers are way away from the court. But like, did they say anything about why it was the call? Why they called a flagrant?
Well, no. Don McClain was livid to the point of not talking. He was so mad about it because they thought it was ridiculous. So at first, whoever's on play-by-play, I don't remember. He tried to say that. It is that little shove enough? And McLean's like, that's not even a shove. I don't even see a shove there. And so they go to review it, and you're thinking, okay, they're going to look and see that they're idiots for even calling a foul in the first place. But no, they doubled down, and called a flagrant one. And so 2 shots in the ball for USC, ridiculous, and then that of course leads to Smith getting another tech. Yeah. Later, because he's pretty damn tired of this shit.
Yeah.
So especially after last week when the Stanford player undercut Noah Williams, if that's not a flagrant foul, then what the fuck is a flagrant foul?
Exactly.
Like if that's a foul, that's a foul with no intention of stopping the ball. That's a foul with only intention of hurting a player. If you review that. And don't call that a flagrant foul, and then you call a guy grazing his fingernails on someone's back a flagrant foul. Like, get out. Like, this is broken, and I don't blame Smith for losing his lid and getting called for a tech again because it's nonsense. Like, what did Noah feel in that moment, seeing that play, and then thinking like, what the hell happened? Because we saw Noah tweeted after the game last week. Like, he tweeted all caps ! Flagrant foul. That's one of his tweets. So, yeah, and we're lucky that he played this weekend. I didn't even think he was going to play, and he played really well against USC.
Yep.
And I mean, he's a second half guy at this point, I guess. But yeah, that was just complete nonsense. So you're looking at 4 points right there from that tech and those flagrant free throws.
Yeah.
And it's just, in that game makes a difference. With the refs going after Noah because he's talking shit to a poor little white boy, I guess. I don't know. Like, players talk shit to each other all the time. Like, what did he say?
Yeah.
Like, I just can't imagine, like why as a ref do you have to listen to that? Like, why does it even matter?
It may, to be honest, some of it may be coming from the fact that there's no fans.
Yeah.
if we're being completely honest about it, the fact that there are no fans in the stands means everybody hears everything, and officials have rabbit ears. They hear things, and
but that's the thing where the official has to choose to want to listen to that.
Yeah.
Because
I totally agree.
he was staring right at them.
Yeah.
And like looking at Noah's mouth and like just waiting. He was itching to call the tech.
Yeah.
And like so he had predetermined that he was going to call a tech on Noah. He was just going to wait for him to say it. And it's like okay, like guys, like talk crap both ways all the time. Noah is obviously, that Gary Payton type where he's talking it all the time, but it's still like it's a basketball thing, man. Yeah. I don't know if maybe it's
silly.
Like maybe he was saying something hyper offensive. I don't know. Like
maybe, but I don't know, man. It's a bummer that that came into play. It
definitely came. They got 2 points. They got those 2 points like right when WSU was making a move. And it put a real damper on a run, and
it's hard once you start getting a rep. I mean, we all know that. It can be tough to shake a rep. And to be honest, I kind of thought maybe Noah was shaking that a little bit. Early in the year. I mean, look, the guys. The guys who officiate the non-conference games are the same guys who officiate the conference games. So early in the year, he didn't seem to be getting a lot of those, ticky-tack foul calls. Wasn't getting flop calls like he got last year, was drawing some charges. Like honestly, it seemed like, all right, maybe this is going okay. And now it just seems like, it's back. Now when we're playing Arizona and Stanford and UCLA and USC, now all of a sudden, he's talking too much and that's a problem, or, whatever. So it's frustrating. I am honestly, I'm a little surprised that Smith has gotten teed up a couple times. I know he's fiery. Like, I know that about him for sure. Like, there's no doubt about that. He's definitely a fiery guy. He definitely is an emotional guy. Wears his emotions on his sleeve. I think that's part of the reason why his players, love playing for him. And I also am a little surprised that he lost his composure a couple times on the refs. So, I think that's a pretty decent. I think it's maybe a pretty decent approximation of just how bad he feels like they're being treated right now. Because, plenty of opportunities to get teased last year and he didn't. So
we've seen it with FA where they just they seem to have corrected that a little bit, but they were just calling so many assumed fouls on him. It's
refs calling, we joke about this all the time. It's refs calling what they think they're going to see rather than what they really actually saw. And so they anticipate a thing that's coming and then they blow their whistle rather than just actually watching the whole thing go through. They blow their whistle the millisecond it looks like the contact's about to happen. Instead of actually thinking, hey, let me kind of watch this through and then I can make a decision afterward. And then of course they also love their charge calls forever and ever and ever. And, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to get too far on the refs because it's not like the refs are the reason why it happened, but it's always super annoying. I think if we talk a little bit about what's actually going on the court, that's troublesome and problematic. Turnovers, I think, are kind of the big one right now.
Yeah, turnovers.
We're giving the ball away a ton, and we're not taking away really ever.
Yeah, it's double.
Those two things are a rough combination.
Yeah, and turnovers we've seen multiple times directly negatively impact the defense. They're giving up transition buckets because of it, because they do like an annoying amount of live ball turnovers and stuff. And even though the steal percentage is not, it's pretty high, I guess. Yeah, 10%. But yeah, so they're giving away too many live ball turnovers, and plus, just bad passes and just things that just don't need to happen often. It's like a guy trying to make a play too much. And it's not Bonton all the time. Like people see Bonton most of the time because he's the one that has the ball. But man, like, Yakumovsky's really struggling with that. His turnover rate is very high. Abagidi, with his, his post move, sometimes it can go a little haywire. Tony Miller is just a turnover machine when he's in the game. TJ Bamba. There's just a lot of guys that have been struggling turning the ball over, and it's kind of endemic at this point, and it's frustrating because, like, there's, you just, like, if you see them in stretches when they don't give it away, and they just do so well, like when they don't, because it impacts them on both ends.
Well, yeah, it's the only play where nothing good can happen, and it also puts you at a disadvantage coming back the other direction. Like,
if it's a live ball,
if it's a live ball, which a lot of them are.
Yeah.
It's like 10% of their possessions, 1 out of every 10 possessions ends with the opponent stealing the ball. That's bad. That's really, really, really bad. And then another 11% of the possessions end with other kinds of turnovers.
Yeah, we're seeing 21% almost turnover rate right now. It's just not
almost
good.
22 in conference play. In conference
play, 21.5. The worst. So they're the worst giving the ball away on a percentage basis in conference play, and they're the worst at taking the ball away.
Yeah.
So it's
like an Ernie Kent situation.
Like, how are you ever going to win doing that?
It's tough, and especially on defense, it's tough to come up with empty possessions, and frankly, they're not defensive rebounding very well right now.
Yep.
So when you put those two things together, when you're not getting those zeros on turnovers on defense, and then you're giving up too many offensive rebounds, at some point it doesn't. It's not that it doesn't matter. I mean, it matters, but at some point that really, really, really mitigates your shooting defense, because even if you hold them to a missed shot, they're getting a lot of offensive rebounds, and even if you're not forcing very many turnovers, then they're getting more shots, and those shots have an opportunity for an offensive. I mean, it's like, it's not like you have to build a defense on turnovers, but you kind of need to be at least passable on both ends. And right now we're just not. Like, we're turning it over a ton, and we're not taking it away, and that has a pretty tremendous effect on both sides. And so I'd like to see that improve. It's kind of a tall task coming up this weekend, especially playing Colorado a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
But between playing Colorado back to back Saturday and Wednesday this weekend and next week, to make up for the game that was postponed. But that would seem to be a place to start. The problem is, I don't know. I mean, I know that the turnover percentage defensively could change if they shifted some things philosophically, but I don't think they really want to do that, because they've got they've got big athletic big men, and they're really sort of built around that 2-point defense right now. Offense turnovers, man, you would think that's a thing that would get better with experience, but we've said that with other teams, and guys don't really get better because maybe they're just not great ball handlers.
The older guys are the ones that are on a percentage basis in terms of the percentage of their usage, taking care of the ball better. Bonton and Williams and Kuntz, even when he plays. Yep. I mean, not counting Miller, but he's just, his aggressive mentality leads to kind of a feast or famine type of thing. So it's, freshmen typically have pretty high turnover rates, unless you're Charlize Ledger-Walker. But so it's not surprising that a lot of these guys are loose with the ball. It's just hard, like you said, when we're not get taking the ball away, and we're not rebounding that well, and so it's hard too with the rebounding, because it's just like, you seem like we'd have the bodies.
Yep.
And Deshaun doesn't. I'm surprised that Deshaun doesn't have a higher rebounding percentage, because he doesn't go for block shots really, as much as like Fa does. I mean, he blocks shots, but he's not the kind of like rim protector as much as he usually gets some kind of one-on-one defense more often. But It's just, you know, the bigs outside of FA, there's not like a really good defensive rebounder, and so if FA is
and
going
really
for
missing
the block,
CJ.
yeah, definitely missing CJ there, because if you had that wing crashing who could pull down boards like him, you know, that would be great.
I mean, Noah Williams isn't a great defensive rebounder. Yakimovsky's maybe not as good of a rebounder as I might have hoped.
Yeah.
You know, they just don't. You know, even Vova doesn't rebound a lot of defensive misses. He gets his hands on a lot of offensive rebounds because he's just so big and he's around the basket, and you know, so he can kind of get his hand on anything that's around the basket. But you know, defensively, it's kind of what, you know, we've talked about this with FA, like the concept of out of zone rebounds, right? The ones that don't drop right into your hands. Like, can you go get a rebound? And right now, we just kind of, you know, he's kind of it. And his defensive rebound is even ticked down quite a bit in conference play.
Yep.
It's still 20% is still 21%, still really good, but it's not dominant. It was pretty dominant during non-conference play, and it's not, which is to be expected. But you know, they just that's a little bit of a struggle, and it's interesting that, you know, we kind of pinpointed that as a little bit of a struggle early, and then it seemed to kind of fix itself a little bit, and now it's kind of back. So I don't know. I mean, these are all things they got to get better at. The one thing they don't have to get better at is Isaac Bonton being awesome.
Yeah, I want to talk about that too. I guess going forward, that's really encouraging. Bonton's basically playing the best ball of his life right now.
I cannot fathom that he has ever played better than this at any level.
and against the best defenses, you know, against USC and Stanford, really, like, playing out of his mind. Against Arizona, he played really well. You know, Cal and UCLA aren't great defenses, but still are defenses that he definitely would have struggled with before. But, you know, he's hitting his twos. Like, he's hitting jumpers. He's actually finishing at the rim. And then he's hitting threes at a very high rate. You know, I wouldn't expect him to keep hitting threes at that rate, but I do think he could definitely be like a 40% 3-point shooter.
I mean, he's only a tick above 40%.
Yeah,
you know, he's at
but 40, I mean, like in the
44%.
Like, in the last 3 games, he's or last 4 games.
I'm just saying in conference play.
Yeah, but that's from the first 2. But if you look at the last 3 games, he's like, he's just unreal.
Yes,
but you're still missing those free throws, though.
What the hell is that?
I don't know.
I still don't. Send him back to rehab.
Yeah,
send him back to rehab.
But yeah, he's hitting every other damn shot. Can't hit free throw.
Yeah,
but yeah, he's definitely, you know, he still, you know, makes plays occasionally where you're like, dude, do something else. But at the same time, he's definitely playing way more under control, looking for more quality shots, and he's hitting them too. And yeah, he only had 2 turnovers against USC, and that's with, like, he was dominating the ball against USC, and he had the ball most of the time, and he was putting himself in, like, stress situations where turnovers can happen, and he wasn't turning them over. So yeah, he's definitely just coming around, and this happens with seniors, you know, like we've seen seniors just click. It just click for them when they're not like the highly regarded coming in. Like sometimes it just takes a while for it to click. And I listened to a little bit of Kyle Smith talking to Matt Chasnow today on his coach's show, and he was talking about Bonton, and he was just like, they were just getting frustrated because they see it in practice and they know he can do it, and he was just playing so poorly at the start of the season, and so just given off of, you know, how he played at times last year, you can at some point you're like, okay, this is who this guy is. Like, he's just going to be a low efficiency, high volume guy that we just kind of need someone to take a shot once in a while, right? But now it's like, yeah, let's have him take a shot, because he, in conference play,
his numbers are so bonkers.
It's like he's playing the most minutes in the conference. He is taking the highest percentage of shots, so he's taking the most shots in conference play, and he's taking the 3rd most highest usage in terms of a percentage of possessions that end with him, and he's almost a 110. That's nuts. 10% above, you know, basically an average offensive player at that level of usage. His assist rate, he's assisting at a high rate too. man.
I mean, let's be real and put this in terms that, like, okay, so we always throw around a ton of numbers. Like, let's put this in context. This is Klay Thompson production.
Yeah, I mean,
like I don't know a better way to describe it to people other than to say what he is doing right now is Klay Thompson production.
But with assists too, like it's. I mean, Klay Thompson had assists his final year, his junior year too. But so they don't have the conference only play like numbers for Klay, but Klay was definitely at those like level of usage, and so
and efficiency
and efficiency. So yeah, like his junior year, and so so he's playing at a. Like I say, he's all conference right now. Absolutely. Like if they voted today, like he better be on that team because I can't imagine there are many players playing better than him at just the high rate and high number of minutes that he is playing. Like it's crazy. He's only at 80% minutes for the whole year because he missed an entire game. Otherwise, he might be 90% for a whole year, which is crazy.
And he doesn't seem to get tired.
No, we talked about it last week. I was worried about it, but man, he just motors and motors and motors and just never quits. He has that competitive fire. And that's what, last year after the Oregon State game, the Clay Day game, which, that was, I think it was yesterday, the 1 day anniversary, which was nuts. So it feels like a decade ago. But you just saw when he locks in, when he wants to, like when he gets that fire, like he wanted to put on a show and he did. And now he's in conference play and he's basically playing every game like he did in that Oregon State game. And it's really fun to watch. He's very fun to watch. If you have any, like, if you're tired of him, if you're sick of watching him play, and I get it. Like he was just not good for so long this year. But what he has done against some really good defenses in the last 5 games, like, is just so impressive. Really, since the second half of the Arizona game, really turned it on, and he's just, you just gotta appreciate a guy playing at this level because it's unique. It doesn't happen very often, and by the way, he can come back next year.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe he doesn't want to. Maybe he wants to go play pro ball somewhere, and he definitely can. But yeah, like he can come back next year if he wants to. And he's definitely hitting his stride right now.
For Alma Bonton haters out there, it's time to let it go.
Just let it go, man.
Just let it go.
If WSU turns it around, we also talked about, man, that Arizona loss really hurts right now because they'd be 3-3 in conference, and it would feel a lot better.
Everything would feel so different
with 2 games against Colorado coming. That Utah game, we'll talk about now. That so they got coming up. They got Utah, 2 against Colorado. So probably they'll have played one of them by the time we talk again. So we'll have a little bit of, although a game at Colorado this year, I pretty much. Whatever, especially this year with the team they have this year, it's just they're not losing there. Not. It's not going to happen. But yeah, so Utah, definitely a winnable game, absolutely winnable.
Yep.
They play they're like they don't have like the mismatches. I would say like Timmy Allen is really good, but he's not shooting that well right now, so he's probably gonna hit like 10 threes against us. I don't know.
Probably. But he makes his money on the inside. And that's where this game is going to get interesting because you go, okay, this is strength on strength, right? Where their offensive strength is 2-point shots. They don't shoot a lot of. They don't shoot
not turning the ball over.
And not turning the ball over.
Probably just not going to turn the ball over in that game.
Yeah, so they don't shoot a ton of threes and partly because it seems like they're quite bad at it. And then their twos, they are the second best team in conference play on twos. So, and that's with playing UCLA, USC, Oregon, and Colorado. Their first 4 conference, other than the first one to open.
I wouldn't take that Cal loss is bad. Anyone losing to Cal this year, it's bad. Like that's
at home.
That just doesn't make sense to me. Bradley back? Or no,
I don't know.
No, he wasn't. Like what? I have no idea how that happened. I didn't watch it. That just makes no sense to me.
Yeah, real inconsistent team. It looks like.
Yeah.
When they're good, they're good. When they're bad, they're real bad. They got mollywopped by BYU, lost by 2 to UCLA. Now that was kind of though when UCLA was just kind of starting to figure some things out. But then lost by 18 to USC, lost by 6 to Oregon.
That was the UCLA game,
New Year's Eve.
Yeah, that was right after Smith got hurt.
Might have been.
Like it was like it was the game he got hurt, I want to say.
Oh yeah, it might have been. You're right.
Yeah,
it might have been.
He only played 22 minutes in that game, so I'm pretty sure that's the game he got hurt in.
Yep, that's what it is. And then they 7-point loss to Colorado. Okay, and then they beat Stanford, and you're like, well, shit. They beat Stanford.
Yeah, how do you have a weekend? Like it's just nuts. You have a weekend against the Bay Area teams, and you beat Stanford, and you lose to Cal.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know what happened. I don't know. I have to go
I'm
back
not even going to try and figure it out.
And it's college basketball, and it's also college basketball in a very weird year. But yeah, it's just they're pretty they're a pretty deep team. I want to say they use a lot of guys.
It looks like it.
Pretty deep.
Really,
rotation.
Timmy Allen's the only guy who plays heavy minutes.
Yeah. Everyone else is kind of there's some starters that play more of big man type minutes, not like full game type minutes. But yeah, offensively for the Cougs, these 3 games, both Colorado and Utah, force a lot more turnovers than any of the teams that WSU has played in the previous 3 games. So you're kind of hold your breath, man, if we're turning the ball over against teams that really aren't trying to take the ball away from us,
right?
What's it going to look like against teams that are trying? And we've seen in the past, we saw against one of the Portland State that played pressure D, full court, and a couple of the teams they played full court, and they struggle with those. So you kind of worry there. But Utah, they're not amazing on anything really on defense, but they are pretty good at forcing turnovers, and they are pretty good at limiting free throws. We have come to be far less reliant on free throws in conference play. It seems our offense is actually better when we don't rely on free throws, because that means we're probably shooting better. I do like that Utah is not a very good defensive rebounding team, because when this squad wants to grab O boards, they can. They with FA and Deshaun and Vova, and then Yakumovsky, some of their guys, they're very good offensive rebounders, and so that might be a place for WSU to kind of nudge up the efficiency in this game.
Yeah. Colorado looks super tough. They're good at a lot of things.
So WSU gets 2 games in a row against probably the best, one of the best teams in the conference. The best highest rated KenPom, the men do, and then the women get 2 in a row against Stanford coming up soon too. So
play the Imperial Death March.
Yeah. But Colorado, I'm glad we have the first one at home.
Yep.
But yeah, McKinley Wright is annoying. I feel like he's been in college for 100 years, and he's just always gotten a little bit better every year. He was good as a freshman, and he's just been good every other year. I guess this year he's gotten just more efficient.
Yeah. A lot more efficient.
Yeah. Particularly, it looks like his turnovers really have ticked down. And he's making a lot more 2s, but his kind of one bugaboo is turnovers before, and he's not really turning the ball over much this year. He's just really good, really tough to stop.
It's that senior thing you were talking about. You know, it's just you play long enough, and
the dude is 6 foot tall, and he's shooting 60% on his 2-pointers. That is incredibly annoying. I looked at his at the rim numbers too. He's at 65% at the rim. It's nuts.
He doesn't draw a lot of fouls either.
Yeah,
typically when you see that, you see a guy who draws a lot of fouls, and he doesn't. which is kind of weird.
Yeah, he's going to be a tough guard. I'm guessing Bonton's going to be guarding him, so Bonton's going to have a tough guard.
Yeah,
there.
maybe Noah.
Yeah, maybe Noah, just to kind of maybe hope the length gives him trouble.
Yeah, maybe.
They got a real good freshman that comes off the bench. That's how you'd want to use your good freshman, because he's Jabari Walker. I looked at me, he's pretty highly rated, but about as highly rated as like Deshaun Jackson or Andre Yakumowski. But, it'd be a lot better for those guys if they were coming off the bench 35% of the minute,
Right.
Coming off the bench
on a really good team.
18 minutes a game or whatever,
Yeah.
And he's just been really good, and he'll probably give us trouble off the bench. He's 48% on threes, 56% on twos, like just nuts.
I think what I'm most excited to see is watching our big men contend with Evan Batty.
Yeah.
And hopefully none of them end up getting squished by him this year.
Oh man, he was these wide. Where can WSU get one of these guys? These like wide 6'8", 6'9" guys.
6'8" dudes who are as wide as they
like
are
Jordan
tall.
Riley, Evan Batty. These just wide dudes. These not big but wide, well, not tall but wide.
Yeah.
Like they normally associate with like the mid majors. They always got these guys, but then when you got to get like Batty, who's more talented, then you'd find those ones. He was rough last year. He's just gonna be a bug.
He's super annoying.
Yeah.
I don't like watching him play. Maybe other people do. Maybe other people have a soft spot for overweight, shortish big men. He's annoying.
Their 7-footer hasn't played in a long time. So I don't know if he's still hurt. You never get the update on the injuries for these guys unless you're like a super following the team.
Yeah.
Hopefully he doesn't play again. Because he could be a bother, but yeah, they're just. I don't think it really matters though. Like, they're a lot like UCLA in that they just have a lot of dudes that can fill it up.
Yeah, and they crash the glass and they turn the ball over. They don't turn the ball over. And they turn you over.
They rebound well. Both ends.
They force a lot of. My guess is this. So with their turnover situation on defense, they don't force a lot of steals. They're like ninth in conference play in steals, but second in non-steal turnovers, and they are 11th in average possession length on defense. So I'm guessing they get, they sort of grind you down.
Yeah.
On defense until you have to, make a decision. Either you throw it away or you have a shot clock violation or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing that's what they do. So definitely going to be interesting to see how we try and attack things. Their shooting defense isn't great. It's not bad, but it's pretty middling overall. And they don't block a lot of shots, so they really just kind of grind you and make you execute.
They don't let you
if
get.
You can execute, you can get a bucket, but if you don't, you're not only you're gonna have some turnovers, but you're also not getting an offensive rebound. They're crazy good on the defensive glass too, and they don't put you on the line, so they really don't give you any of the easy stuff. That sort of sustains a lot of offenses.
It's pretty interesting. They give up as a percentage of points. The most points on 2-pointers in conference play so far, which doesn't super vibe with like some of their other stuff. So I'm curious. I'm gonna look up some of their kind of their hoop math data here, just to see what the percentage of shots they give up at the rim. What if they're just forcing a lot of mid range, and so teams are just making a lot of mid range shots because that's all they have. Because overall their defense is good.
Well, they're not real tall. I mean, that's part
Especially
of it. They're not real tall. They don't block a lot
the,
of shots.
They've been without the 7-footer.
Without Walton. They're not real tall. They don't block a lot of shots.
No relation to Bill, by the way. It would take you 1 second to figure that out, but there's no relation to Bill.
They it looks like they do a pretty good job chasing teams off the 3-point line. So, they really funnel you into a spot where.
So they're actually not very good defense at the rim. They have 56% field goal percentage at the rim, which is not. I mean that sounds not a lot, but in grand scheme of things, like people miss a lot of shots at the rim. Like WSU gives about 50%, like 49 to 50%. So 56% is putting you way in the bottom half, like well into the bottom half of college basketball. And they actually give up 39% of their shots at the rim. So teams, that is probably where you can find some kind of unguarded shots at the rim with them. And so hopefully maybe this is it, if we look theoretically at the possibilities of an upset, what does it look like, right? It's always going to have a high percentage of 3-pointers hit, always.
Yeah.
And then I think you'll see if we're pulling an upset here, which would be a huge upset given, like, in terms of KenPom, like they're 13th and we are 129th. That doesn't happen very often, even at home. But you're probably going to see like Deshaun have a big game down low, and Vova and FA like have, just find buckets down low. Maybe Bonton can get to the rim and score a few times. Maybe Bamba or someone and Noah can exploit that as well. That's what it's going to look like. They're going to have to make a high percentage at the rim, probably like 60 to 65, 70% at the rim. And then they're probably going to have to hit like 35, 40% from three,
and then some other weirdness. I mean,
then don't
maybe turnovers.
Like keep the turnovers under 20, probably 20%.
Keep the turnovers low. Maybe you get lucky with some offensive rebounding. Those kinds of things. You're going to need a little help probably in those ways. Their defense is really dependent, it looks like, on choking out shot volume.
Yeah.
And which is, by the way, a really sound strategy, taking the ball away a little, clean up the defensive glass. I mean, actually that was the recipe for WSU last year.
Yeah.
When they were particularly, they were undersized around the rim,
which Colorado is now.
Yeah. And they were not good at, defending the paint. They were not good at defending a lot of things, but what they did was they took the ball away. And they were really good on the defensive glass with CJ. They didn't put you on the line that much. And it's, you can do wonders even if you were allowing the other team to make shots, you can do wonders by making sure they never get a second chance or that they never get the first chance.
The one, the little bit of hope, like one team that has really shredded them offensively is Arizona, and Arizona's huge, and we're big too. And so hopefully maybe, the bigness is the key to unlocking them, because they are really not big, and that was even when they had Walton. Arizona shredded them. They're probably, I don't know what his injury was. He could be back, but even with him, it's him, and then everyone else is under 6'8". So someone's going to be, one of our 6'10" dudes is going to be checked by a 6'7" guy, and so hopefully we can exploit that in some way, and maybe the way that Arizona did. I don't know. But of course Arizona, so Arizona was 22 of 40 on 2-pointers in that game, and 8 of 17 on 3. So so that's the only, I'm looking at, because they really haven't been shredded defensively that much. But Arizona,
which
definitely
is not a huge surprise.
Yeah, Arizona is definitely the outlier, and what Arizona is, the outlier on their schedule, is the biggest team that they've played. So I guess USC is the biggest team they've played, and they did just fine against them. So I don't know, man. I'm just trying to find if what an upset looks like. Truthfully, I don't think they're going to win either of those games, but I mean, against Colorado, I definitely think they can beat Utah.
Definitely can beat Utah. It sure would be nice to get that one.
Yeah,
because if you don't, you're pretty much staring down a 6-game losing streak, and that gets.
We really need to get that Utah one. It's gonna be. I'm probably gonna be like way too amped for that. Like the 74 versus 129 team on KenPom. It's gonna be like super amped for that game, because it's just like, we gotta get this one, please.
Basically a coin flip.
Yeah.
So that would be a good one to get. By the way, before we take a break and move on, I do want to point out that what I said about USC and my faith in Andy Enfield. USC, I am seeing now, lost to Oregon State tonight.
Of course they did.
So,
oh my god.
I'll just I'm not going to go any deeper into that because we've talked about them enough. But I rest my case on Andy Enfield. So
58 points.
Sorry,
56 points.
They should be scoring more points than they are. They should not lose to Oregon State. So not a lot of faith there, Mr. Enfield.
Well, if you want to feel like good about a potential upset, although Tab Boyle's a much better coach than Andy Enfield, I would assume.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
But that was Oregon after that win, 153, even after beating USC, who is number 20 now.
Yep.
So, hey, shit happens. It's college
basketball. It does. And hey, we beat Colorado last year.
We did.
National champs.
That was actually a pretty big upset in terms
it was.
of
it was a huge upset.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they
unexpected for sure. So
yeah. Can CJ come back for this game?
I think honestly, and I guess maybe this is my final thought. Like, I think being back home is going to be great. Like,
oh yeah, I think they're going to.
You've got a team full of freshmen, no Ryan Rapp, no DJ Rodman, and I think I have no inside knowledge on this, but just reading the tea leaves, it sure seems like, and maybe Smith talked about this in his press conference today, because I haven't watched it, so I don't know. But it certainly seems like those guys were trending toward being back this weekend, and that would make a really massive difference. They're sophomores. They've been around. They've played a little more. Steady hand for Ryan Rapp. I know that his turnover rate's not great overall, but that is just that's to me that's kind of a quirky math thing, mostly just because he never shoots.
Yeah.
Like so there's no frivolous shots to kind of push that.
He's handling the ball a lot, but he doesn't.
He's handling the ball a lot, and the percentage looks bad, but it's because he's not. There just aren't enough frivolous shots in there to kind of tamp down the percentage in terms of the possessions that he's using. So anyway, having him handle the ball, I think, would be beneficial. Having him on defense, I think, would be a really big deal.
I really hope he's back.
I just think that, I mean, I think, TJ Bamba, going to be a really nice player someday. He's just not ready yet for this many minutes. Defensive breakdowns, turnovers.
Yeah, he can look really, really good, and then he can look really, really bad.
I mean, I am extremely excited about his future as particularly as a dribble penetrator. We just typically don't have guys with his physical profile at the guard spot, that are able to really get in the lane and do some physical things. Once he kind of figures that out, and then defensively, he's kind of a mess right now, like a lot of guys. And that was pretty obvious last weekend. So I think if we can get a couple guys back in there like Rapp and Rodman who are going to be, guys who've been in the system for a year who are going to do, make the sound plays. I truly think that'll shore up a lot. And then, like I said, being home, I think, I think it does make a difference.
And hopefully Bonton just keeps it going.
Yeah, I would really hate it if he wasted all of his awesomeness on a bunch of losses.
Yeah, that would be a bummer.
So,
just keeping us from losing by 4 every game.
Yeah. Thank you for saving our Ken Palm ranking.
Yeah, the Marcus Moore, performance for
that's
see how many of our listeners get that reference, but
not many, I don't think.
Yeah. Let's again, we're just talking for way too long about before we go to the break. But yeah, let's go to the break and then we'll talk about the women's hoops team.
All right, we're back.
All right. Well,
another depressing weekend.
Well, let me talk about this beer I'm drinking. Just because you're not drinking beer, you weirdo.
Yeah, I know. I didn't make it out to Tacoma this weekend either.
I know.
To get the
beer,
the special gift.
But I have another tasty one, another barrel-aged barley wine, which I like to go to a lot. This one's in a nice little 12-ounce can from Threes Brewing in Brooklyn.
Okay.
It's called Sound of Exclamation. Barley wine aged in bourbon barrels. Great body on this. It's kind of a sweeter barley wine. A lot of raisin in there. Some good real good sweet caramely notes. It's very tasty. Threes is in, like I said, in Brooklyn. I've been to the brewery. It was after I had a lot of beers at Other Half which is pretty close by. It's like about a little less than a mile away. They're not hard to get between the two. And I went to Threes. I had beers there and I had food there. I can tell you, I don't remember a lot about it because I may have had a few beers at other half brewing before going. I was having a good time that night. I missed my work trips to New York City. Those were a lot of fun. I will tell you, like, there is, New York City and San Francisco probably too. You just the fun of those cities in terms of craft beer is just like there are more breweries in New York now, like in the actual city, and some really, really good ones, but like Threes and like other half, but man, the beer bars are just on every corner. You just have these like beer bars with insane tap lists like that, because like everyone who can distributes to New York, and so they distribute everything, and so they have like these tap lists of like the greatest beers you'll ever see. And I miss those trips to New York, where I just like be on covering whatever I was doing, and then just immediately leave and go to beer bars for 7 hours, and then go home and go to sleep for a few hours, and then go do it again the next day. But yeah, so sound of exclamation, which I certainly had a few more times than I ever have watching the women on TV before. It was quite a weekend, in the end, a very disappointing weekend, but
eventful though.
Eventful. 2 OT losses back to back. First, the USC game really looked like they were going to control that game, and they did for about probably 24 minutes or so, and then like they built an 8-point lead. They just kind of had held the lead the whole game, and then USC just went on a huge run and ended up taking their own like 12-point lead. But this team, man, they just don't. Charlize Leger-Walker definitely has like a sort of a god mode that she like activates late in games, because she plays like pretty. She doesn't force things. She just kind of lets the game come to her for like most of the game, but when the team needs it, like she just kind of turns it on. Like you can definitely see her aggression when she needs it, and she's very impressive. And plus they just hit shots, and they really lock down defensively when they need to, and that's against USC. They really limited USC down the stretch, and they were able to come back in that game, get the shots they needed. That game, the ending of regulation in both were incredible, but in the USC game, I think I watched this one. I don't think you had the chance to watch it. I don't know if you saw the highlights, but that was great. Like Charlize Leger-Walker comes down and gets the tie, drives to the bucket, gets fouled. They're down 2. She hits both free throws pretty calmly, and then it was crazy. They pressured the inbounds. In women's college hoops, they'll advance the ball like they do in the NBA on a timeout. They advance to half court. So USC had 6 seconds left, and Charlize just jumped up and grabbed the inbounds pass, had a free run at the basket, and just right when she was in the middle of the lane, looked like she was ready to go up for the kind of the winning layup. There was only a couple seconds left. Got the ball poked away and had to heave. But man, I thought, talk about a sound of exclamation when like I just screamed like Charlize, like when she go Charlize, like when she stole that ball. But yeah, unfortunately they just Bella Marquetete fouled out early in the overtime, and their just defense that fell apart, and they couldn't stop USC, and even though Charlize hit 3 threes in the overtime, they just couldn't hang. But yeah, I mean, couldn't defend.
I didn't get to watch the USC game, but I did write the recap, running the basically just trying to write it off the play-by-play, and I was like,
you're like, what the hell? Messaging us like, what happened in this?
I'm like,
sequence?
what
What's
even happened
here?
I know. We
We
determined, by the way, that USC had screwed up their play-by-play.
Yeah.
That everything made a little more sense after that, but yeah, super bummer. And then UCLA, they just looked for most of the game. So I did get to watch that one. And most of the game, really, they just looked tired.
Yeah, they just couldn't, no lift on their shots.
Yeah, and by the way, they gave it a great effort on defense. Like they were from the tip. They were not getting outworked defensively or anything like that because they were tired. But the offense was definitely suffering. Like the legs, the shots were short. Just things just did not look smooth, and that happens from time to time. And they had already played 2 consecutive overtime games.
I think Crystal Ledger Walker started like 1 of 11 or something.
Yeah,
in that game.
So playing 2 consecutive overtime games leading into that, and obviously there's some college. Maybe it's not quite the same as playing 2 consecutive overtime games in the NBA or something, but still it's 2 games and.
Charlize and Crystal don't come out of the game.
They played 47 minutes or something.
Yeah, Crystal played 44 and Charlize played 45 in the first game, and then I don't think either of them came out in the second game.
Yeah, so I'm watching this UCLA game and I'm thinking, well, it's a bummer. But totally expect UCLA's really good, top 10 team. So you just kind of it's a bummer and. Their defense is playing pretty well, but they just can't make any shots and, whatever. And then the fourth quarter starts. And apparently, all of a sudden, God mode engaged. It just was sort of they just started clawing back and clawing back and clawing back. And it was really what it was UCLA just wasn't scoring. And it's
not like they make a field goal for the first almost 9 minutes of the.
They almost got shut out in the fourth quarter. They ended up scoring 5 points. Three of those,
if not for the bank 3, they might have gotten shut out because their only points after that, or maybe they had 1 free throw before that. I can't remember. Yeah, it was.
Yeah. It was wild, and it was funny. I jokingly texted you and was like, I like our chances if UCLA doesn't score for the whole fourth quarter. Ha ha ha. Yeah. And then it came really close to happening. So huge guts to get that game into overtime. They really should have won.
Man, so first of all, they clawed back, took the lead with just over a minute to play. Charlize went to the rack, scored, and then. I'm sorry, it's Charlize. I keep saying Charlize. It's just, I gotta cure my verbal tick there. But it's it's right after that, they have UCLA pinned down, take a tough shot at the top of the key, bank 3. And then they come down and they set up a great play. They get Bella a nice mismatch on a guard down low, and she just misses the bunny, and you're like, this is over. Bummer. But UCLA misses the free throw, misses one of the free throws, so it's a 3-point game. And man, I was kind of pissed because UCLA, there's 2 seconds left. Yeah, I think exactly 2. And UCLA fouls before the inbound, and there's no penalty for that.
Yeah.
Why not always do that? If there's 2 seconds left. So basically, the only way you can come back in that situation, down 3, shooting 2 free throws is a miracle. And holy shit, dude.
They got a miracle.
That was insane.
There are so many people who argue for fouling while up 3, right? That happens all the time. Foul. Why don't they just foul? Why don't they just foul? Well, now you know. I will say, so Charlize against USC tried an intentional miss and did a pretty good one, but they couldn't get the rebound. This one, she missed a little harder. I don't know if that was in her mind. She missed it a little harder. Well, she could not have missed it better than she did.
It was perfect. Yeah. So it dropped.
I don't know if she was trying, but
I know she was trying to miss it. She absolutely was trying to miss it.
I don't know if she was actually trying to get it to bounce to the left and right into her sister's hands, who was crashing from the 3-point line, and then her sister lays it up and then his time expires. I don't know if she was trying to do that. I don't know if they put that play on.
I don't know if you remember. Tony Bennett had mastered the intentional miss, so maybe she channeled Tony Bennett. But it was just incredible.
I would not put anything past it,
absolutely
if I'm being honest.
incredible play. Like, and it was just one of those plays like, oh, we gotta win now. We gotta win. You can't make that play and not win.
Yeah.
And they came out and they took the lead early in overtime, and it just didn't happen. You know, they just didn't make the shots down the stretch that they needed to after, you claw back from it was at one point a 16-point deficit late in the third quarter, to come all the way back to take the lead and then lose it and then make a miracle play. It's just like, how much more can you do? And it was just unfortunate. They just didn't have enough at the end.
They got killed by free throws.
Yeah.
You know, they UCLA went let's see, hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 for 7 on free throws
in the
overtime. And also Osborne, I forget.
Hit a bunch.
Osborne?
Charity. It's like is it not Charity? It's
sorry.
Something like that.
I don't know these players as well as I know the men. Okay,
Osborne.
Cut me some slack.
And plus, we don't have like Ken Palm to just like pull up and all their names are right there.
Charisma.
I know it was some like cool.
I was
first
so
name.
close.
Yeah, it's
sorry, Charisma. My bad.
So she's the one that banked the three, but then she
is the one who banked the three.
She made some legitimate threes in the overtime.
She scored, let's see, 3, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11 points in overtime.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was her. She had an and one that was kind of the killer.
Yep.
And then then we missed a shot, had a turnover, and then there was a fast break with a foul, and then UCLA went up 4, and then free throw for WSU, and then a couple more free throws for UCLA, and then a 3-pointer at the buzzer to make it look better than it was. But
pretty interesting.
Rough.
Both the women and the men had a make it look better at the buzzer 3-pointer in the last 2 games of the weekend. But yeah, so that was a bummer. I mean, if they pick off that UCLA game, like, you might as well just like write them in for the tournament.
Sure.
They still have work to do now for sure.
And things don't get easier.
Yeah, well, that's our thing is, they're gonna have in terms of those like quadrant 1 games, they're gonna have a ton of them because they're just gonna have a ton of them in conference play.
Yeah.
But you got to get some wins in those. And
which they do have one already.
They do have one. It would have been really nice to have 2. But they got another at least 1. Oregon State, I don't think will end up getting there. But Oregon is definitely up there. That's going to be a tough game on Friday. Pac-12 Network's interesting. The Oregon State game is not on broadcast anywhere, which is going to piss me off on Sunday. You know, like, why are we not getting to watch the game now? Like, every other game is on, but not that. Maybe there's like Oregon State has their own stream we can find or something. But yeah, so yeah, the Oregon game, that's another game where they lost because of a bank 3 early in the season. Oregon basically got the clinching 3 on a bank 3. I think they were up 1 and hit a 3. It was either 1 or 2, and they hit a 3 to ice it, basically. And so, these fucking bank 3s, man. Like, they would have beaten UCLA in regulation if not for that bank 3. And then, they would have had a chance to beat Oregon earlier in the season. Oregon State was ranked when they beat them, but they are not ranked anymore. Actually, Oregon is not ranked anymore. They don't have them listed. Maybe they only put it after the fact. Well, actually, they don't have the UCLA ranking either, which is interesting. They were doing it earlier in the season, but aren't doing it later. But I think Oregon is ranked. I'm pretty sure they are ranked pretty highly.
I think so.
I think they're like top 10-ish team. And then Oregon State, though, they just haven't played that well this year, but they definitely are a team that has talent. So that's a tough game. So yeah, and then of course they're going to have the back-to-back Stanford games, which we'll talk about next week. But both in Pullman at least.
Rough.
And WSU has never beaten Stanford, so better now than never.
Yeah, let's do that.
Hey, Stanford lost to Colorado, who is not very good. Who WSU beat pretty easily in Colorado.
Yeah.
That
it's our time.
Maybe they're not invincible. I did see that sometimes like teams are just invincible, and Stanford's been like that. I saw UConn won by like 70 points today or something. So that's always a possibility. But this team, it just feels like with like Charlize and Crystal, and you got Bella down low, as long as she's not in foul trouble, and they just have like the players that can just keep them in games when they need to, or bring them back, with the guards. It's always been in college, in men's college basketball, obviously I followed more, but I think it's the same. It's true in women's as well, is that guard play is so dominant in college basketball. So if you have good guards, you can compete with a lot of people. Because if your guards are having good games, they're hitting shots, like you're going to be in it. So that's what they're going to need against Oregon, and Oregon State. So really, it'd be great if they could pick off Oregon. I mean, if they can sweep this weekend, then they're going to be in great shape. If they can get a split, that would be really good too.
Yep.
I want to see them go to the tournament so bad. Like at this point, I am so invested in this team. Like I can't believe like how I was losing my shit for that UCLA game. Like I had kicked my daughter's blanket at one point, and she got very mad at me. I think after the bank 3, and I was yelling at the TV. Mind you, this is what, at like the middle of the day on a Sunday, and she's just like playing with her toys in the living room, and I'm standing up in front of the TV and screaming at it. And she's just like, "Daddy, what's wrong?" So I'm having a lot of fun with this team. They're pretty great, and I hope they can keep it going this weekend, and kind of keep building that resume, and to eventually break that very, very long tournament streak.
Yeah, it would be great. It would be great. And I think, I think they can do it. And I think it's pretty understood how tough the Pac-12 is. I think it's kind of lame that they dropped out of the top 25. I mean, I know that's how top 25s work. Like, you win, you move up, you lose, you drop. It's fine.
I actually think USC is probably better than their record too.
Well, yeah, they play in the Pac-12.
Yeah, they've won. They've won a bunch in a row now. That they started poorly, and now they've won like 6 in a row or something. And
so losing in overtime on the road to both of those teams should not. If you thought WSU was a top 25 team before, I don't know why either of those results would make you think they're not a top 25 team. But like I said, we know it's pull momentum. You win, you move up. You lose, you move down, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I think they'd have to sweep this weekend to jump back into the rankings, which definitely means a lot to them. I mean, you saw how the Twitter account and everything around, like just
it's a big deal.
And they mentioned on one of the broadcasts that Cami Etheridge had said like she had never been so busy, like there was, The Athletic wrote an article about them. All these articles written about them. Which is really cool. Like, WSU's women's team has never had that sort of attention.
No.
Nope. And I mean, their men's team has rarely had that sort of attention. So it's really cool to see it. And you just gotta, you hope that they can, that's the only bummer is you gotta keep getting the wins to keep that momentum going and to kind of build that resume. And so you just hope, because just playing the tough schedule at this point is not going to be enough. They're definitely going to have to win the games, and the schedule is tough. Like the rest of the year, like it's not getting any easier. So now, better, just get some wins this weekend and make the rest of your schedule a little easier.
Yeah,
great.
Yep, that would be great. Let's see, football. Abe Lucas is back.
Yay!
I'm excited about that.
That's very good. Best offensive lineman we got. But, and great to have him back, protecting that blind side or front side. Sorry. Unless it was Cam and Cooper, that'd be the blind side.
Yes, that is true.
I mean, honestly, move him over to left tackle.
Yeah, maybe.
Don't worry, we got
I'd
Liam.
be okay with that. I know Ryan, it's maybe not that easy, but
Liam Ryan coming back. I don't know. Sometimes, like, some of the NFL guys make it look okay. Like, the tackles will switch like because of injuries, and it doesn't seem like that hard. But yeah, kicking out that, especially I think the hardest part is pass blocking, kicking out,
Yeah. That technique is pretty different when you flip sides.
Yeah.
Footwork is, flipped. So,
but yeah, Abe, that's, we're just rambling now, but obviously all conference offensive lineman who's definitely going to play in the NFL someday.
Yeah, it's huge.
And I'm sure he could have been drafted. Maybe he just wasn't going to get drafted where he thought, maybe he thought coming back another year, he can get more tape. Honestly, like probably some more tape doing some different types of blocking that he wasn't doing under Leach will be helpful for him.
Yeah.
Yay. And then what else we got? We got a transfer cornerback from Michigan State.
Yeah.
Is he playing right away? I can't.
I think the assumption is that everybody's going to play right away.
Yeah, cool. So Chris Jackson, great
He's got a good name.
Yeah, great name for WSU. Does he want to play wideout? I don't know.
Yeah, maybe he can. I don't know.
But yeah, first of all, I gotta say, I dig these Michigan State jerseys that that are on like the photo that we used. Like,
oh my god,
like you don't like them?
Ugh. I think they're horrible.
Oh, I think it's cool, man. It's basically like an Oregon jersey,
I guess, except like way worse.
I don't know, man. I think it's pretty good. I like the bright colors.
The neon, like the greens, just like I don't know, like how this is possible, but it seems like the greens just clash. Like they just like to my eye, they don't really go together, but. Anyway, I don't know. At Michigan State, this is the thing. Michigan State's got a classic look already.
Yeah, they shouldn't fuck with it. But.
Like, they've got that, the Spartan logo, the green and the white. Like, I mean, it's a good classic look. And then, so why are you throwing a highlighter on your uniform? But
yeah, so
whatever. To each their own.
So he's gonna have some, much more our much more kind of basic jerseys, which I like a lot. I like what we're doing with our jerseys right now, but they're basic. There's not going to be any highlighter. No. No bright colors. But yeah, he's already on campus. He's gonna participate in spring ball. Assuming I assume we're gonna have spring ball at this point. Seems like we're just like full steam ahead, is gonna do everything at this point.
Seems like it.
Yeah. And if you're Charles Barkley, then. Well, he says that the NBA players should get their vaccines first because they pay more in taxes.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Did you see that?
No, I didn't, but that sounds like something stupid that he would say.
Yeah. But anyways, these guys don't pay taxes because they don't get paid. But he wasn't like a full-time starter for them. But a lot of Michigan State players transferred when Mel Tucker
seems like there was either a falling out or a purge, depending on, I guess, how you look at it. So, yeah, I mean, depth is good. He was a high 3-star kid.
Which is better than a lot of our, what our corners come in are. So,
I mean, basically, if we had signed him, he would have been one of the highest rated players in any of our classes. So, so that's great. Depth is good there. The secondary was, again, a problem. So just some depth there. I don't know if they're, thinking of him as a corner or a potential safety. It's tough to say. We did lose a safety today. Tyrese Ross announced he was transferring out.
Maybe those two are related. I don't know.
Could be. I think it's probably more just related to. I think Aiden Hector is locked into the spot that Tyrese Ross was trying to win.
Right.
And that that's a tough deal. So I get it. I don't know where he's going to land. Best of luck to him. Seemed like a good kid. Seemed like a hardworking kid. I always had my dreams of him were always that he would be a Cam Chancellor type safety back there, just knocking people over left and right. But that ain't going to happen. So, good luck to him. And, it'll be interesting to see how the secondary shakes out. I think, Watson and Hector have locked down 2 of the 4 spots.
Yeah, for
the
sure.
other 2, I don't know. Daniel Isom was kind of a mess for most of the year.
Someone's got to play.
And George Hicks was George Hicks.
I mean, in fairness, like George Hicks just got thrown at constantly because no one ever threw at Jalen Watson. So.
Yeah. Kind of getting back to the senior thing, I think, we go, oh, yeah, maybe it clicks for a senior, and it kind of maybe didn't click for either of those seniors this year. So it'll be interesting to see.
Well, they have an extra senior year.
Yeah, and then now they have an extra senior, so maybe it'll make a difference. I don't know. But, can't ever hurt to add a guy with Division I experience, to a position of need. So those things are good. I mean, we talked about the quarterback last week. I don't think we ever really talked about the linebacker from TCU that ended up, transferring and signing. So that's another guy that we've added. And he looks like a middle linebacker, which, cross our fingers, let's hope he can play. So I think, Rolovich is doing kind of what we suspected after the early signing day. He's poking around the transfer portal and looking for guys that can plug holes immediately. And
we definitely need that for if he wants to get, winning record bowl game next year. There are definitely some holes that need to be plugged, and I like that he's doing that.
Yep, and I think those, quarterback. I think we both can agree that quarterback play could improve from what it was this year. So whether that's Delora being better or whether it's this kid from Tennessee, taking that spot, I think we both can agree that quarterback needed to be better this year. I think we both can agree that linebacker needed to be better this year, and I think we both can agree that the secondary needed to be better this year. So I'm all for it. I'm all for all three of these.
Yeah. I think the offensive line was pretty good, and so I'm glad we're getting 4 of those 5 guys
we're getting
back.
4 of the 5
Unfortunately,
back.
Josh Watson has to retire. With some
we got
injuries.
1 million linemen, so hopefully one of them can play right guard.
Yeah.
I hope. I would think.
Bunch of big guys.
Or maybe one of them can play left tackle.
Verbeed, man.
The tackle can play guard where he belongs.
Where he is really good.
Yeah, I'm not bagging on the kid. I just think he's been out of position, and he's certainly more athletically suited to playing guard. So hopefully maybe that'll work. I don't know. Anything else?
I don't know. When you said that more athletically suited to playing guard, we had talked about basketball for so long. I mean, it was I envisioned Liam Ryan playing guard,
crossing someone over, taking it to the rim, dunking on somebody.
300-pound dude.
Do you think he can dunk? I think he probably can.
I think most 6'5" football players can dunk. Yeah.
Yeah, I tend to think so.
I definitely had to guard Calvin Armstrong at the rec center before, and he could dunk not impressively, but he definitely could.
You're not a small man, but you're not Calvin Armstrong.
Well, yeah, he's basically, we're the same height, but he's quite a lot stronger and larger. When I was in college, he was about 130 pounds heavier than me. It was not fun. It was not. There was this group of football players that would just play on court 2 and just run the so they didn't have it when you were in school, but there's 4 courts in the rec center.
Right.
Court 1 is just ballers. So
we played in the PEB, and it was like that. There were 2 courts. 1 court was for the ballers. The other court was for guys.
Yeah. So we had 4 courts. So we had you could just go play any sort of game you wanted to play, and that would
have been nice.
So
I could have used that.
So yeah, but court 2 was usually a pretty good game, but definitely a step down. And there was this group of football players led by Armstrong, and they would just basically run court 2 for a few hours and not lose because they're Division I football players. They're big and strong and athletic. Doesn't even matter how good they are at basketball. They're just going to beat the shit out of everyone.
They're going to get all the rebounds, and they're going to put in all the putbacks. And
oh yeah, guarding Calvin Armstrong in the post was not a fun endeavor. Just not. He had old man moves too. He had the hook and the little baby hook and all that. So it's you're already muscling me, and then you got to just throw a little hook over my head too. So screw you, man.
Screw you, buddy.
Yeah.
Not cool. That's funny.
But yeah, football, basketball.
Yeah.
All right, man. I don't think there's a lot left to talk about.
I think we're there.
Pretty big day for everyone listening to this on the day it's released.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess all we got to say is go Cougs.
Yeah, go Cougs.
Oh, wait, hold on. We got to do the plug things.
Oh,
we're so bad at this.
You're the host. Do it.
Oh, fine.
I'm just like the I'm
the host. You're the guy that talks most of the time.
Yeah,
Except for if I watched a game and you didn't.
That's true.
Yeah, follow us on Twitter. I'm at the Craig Powers. Jeff is at Pod VS Everyone. You can email me. Crap, I haven't even checked it. Maybe I'll just check it live right now. You can email me at podcastvseveryone@gmail.com. People have been emailing us. Actually, Mark, you sent a question about uniform designs. We'll get into that next week. We didn't really get it, unless Jeff, you feel like talking about uniform designs right now. But we'll put that on the ledger for next week.
That sounds good.
So thank you for that question, Mark, and we'll get into that. We mentioned the football uniforms today, but and we know that Jeff does not like those highlighter state ones.
No,
from Michigan State.
I do not.
Don't worry, I don't think that will ever happen at WSU. But give it, rate us 5 stars. Subscribe if you listen to this and you haven't subscribed to it yet. And we'll keep rolling through this basketball season, and we'll have spring ball to talk about. We're gonna be busy.
Yeah, do it.
We're talking about women's hoops now. Like that feels an extra half an hour. So if we have no problem giving you these hour and a half episodes, hour and 40-minute episodes over and over again every week. All right, man, Jeff. For real this time, go Cougs.
For real, go Cougs. Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter.